Finally, there is confirmation that Cuba has been officially removed from the U.S. list of state sponsors of terrorism, clearing the way for both Washington and La Habana efforts to restore bilateral ties. This after President Obama informed Congress in mid-April that he had decided to take Cuba off the list. And despite some strong opposition from Republicans, especially from Senator Marco Rubio and Ted Cruz, both of whom are running for president, lawmakers did not make any effort to derail the decision during their official 45-day review period. And I think this is very, very interesting. It has a lot of implications. The first, meaning that we can start having trade agreements and support for defense needs. And also, because it kind of capitulates a long, long period of kind of flirting and back and forth where Cuba and US were trying to figure out where do they stand according to each other. And the State Department gave this official statement, and it says, the rescission of Cuba designation as a state sponsor of terrorism reflects our assessment that Cuba meets criteria for rescission, while the US has significant concerns and disagreements with a wide range of Cuba's policies and actions. These fall outside the criteria relevant to the rescission of a state sponsor of terrorism designation. So we're not completely cool, but we're cool.
I love what Rubio said, that we're capitulating with our adversaries instead of confronting them. How ridiculous is that? You know, I think this is an excellent thing. They've been on this list since 1982, 50 years of estrangement. This is astounding, the diplomatic and economic possibilities that this opens up. Let's just hope that, you know, they stay on the straight and narrow and they really don't make any sort of alliance with enemies of ours or sponsor. You know, the U.S. has a really interesting way of putting that, sponsoring acts of terrorism. I can't think of a single...
Here's the history behind it. Cuba was placed in that list because first, they were very friendly to Basque separatists that were creating terrorism in Spain, and they were receiving them in Cuba.
Right.
And that was the main reason why they were put there, and also because they were fostering some of the elements of the Colombian FARCs. And because of those two incidents, they were put in the list. But now it's clear that they are actually facilitating the talks between Colombia and the guerrilla, and also they are distance themselves from the Basques. So the U.S., I guess, is picking their battles and saying, I don't think that there's sizable threat coming from the island, and I think there's a lot more benefits from us working together.
I'm just grateful that this has, you know, this estrangement appears to be coming to a close. Like you said, we have major issues to worry about with states sponsoring terrorism. Al-Qaeda, ISIS, you know, this is Cuba. You know, I thank God it's open finally.
I think so. I think there's a lot of benefits. Immediately, we are going to be able to share with Cuba their medical technology that is very, very advanced. Also, there are details that are going to be worked out in the next weeks. Like one of the main ones is how freely U.S. diplomats are going to be able to travel back and forth from Cuba. And also they are trying to figure out how are they going to establish embassies again back in Cuba and Cuba in the U.S. But we want to know, what do you think? Do you think this is a great move from the U.S. in coming together officially with Cuba? Let us know what you think in the comments, and please subscribe to the Leap TV too.